Hi, Emma. Can you see
Hi,
us?
how are you doing?
Good.
Good.
And thank you very much for all of you who don't know. Emma is, for her, it is 3 a.m. in the morning right now, and she still agreed to do this.
This is what architectural photographers do. We're up all night, so and I have kids, so it all works out great.
Wow. Okay, so quickly, Emma is an award winning Canadian Bulgarian photographer based in Vancouver, recognized as one of the world's top architectural photographers. She has photographed for Bjark Ingels, Kengo Kuma,
Thank you.
Omar
Thank you so
Gandhi,
much.
Patkau Architects, Perkins and Wills, and Olson Kunde. And what she says in her talk is in a world oversaturated with polished, predictable imagery, how does one image stand out? How can a single photograph spark curiosity, capture imagination, and bring global attention to your work, which is what we're waiting to see from you. Over to you.
Great. I'm gonna share my screen. You guys have to bear with me because I'm terrible at all of those things. There you go. Hopefully you see my screen and I'll start my presentation. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you and for having me, and especially for introducing this topic of diversity, because this is so important at the moment. And I wanted quickly to explain what I'll be doing in the next 20 minutes. I'll reflect on the architectural photography and diversity, and I wanted to talk about my personal experience, why diversity in architectural photography matters now, creating diversity in my own work. Of course, we have to think about the architects, like displaying their vision and diversity through emotion. And I started this presentation so many times because it truly made me reflect on what diversity in architectural photography means today, and how can we achieve it. But before anything else, I wanted to begin with what it means to me personally, because that personal touch is important and how it has shaped my career. Because for me, diversity began when I first combined two photographic worlds. And you're seeing some old images. They're not the best resolution, bear in mind, but they're done in the 50s, 30s. Because my background was actually not architectural photography, it was photojournalism. I studied photojournalism, and my dream was to be a Magnum photo agency photographer. You can see those are some of the Magnum agency photographs. And Magnum was created in the 30s by Robert Kaplan and Henri Cartier-Bresson. And for me, the most important thing was to record and to witness and to share moments and events. And that dream did come true. I earned an internship at Magnum Photo Agency in their Paris office. And for 6 months, um, I walked through those doors of the office, met my idols, photographers I really admired, and photographers I studied in history of architectural photography and photojournalism, and we discussed ideas with them. And my job as an intern was going in the archives and pulling prints for various articles and publications. And back then, the archive wasn't digital. So every day I handled thousands and thousands of photographs by the world's top 80 photojournalists. And I remember going out on the streets of Paris after my work days, and all I could see is images. Life became photography. And you can see those are some of mine mixed together with the Magnum ones. And that experience taught me one of the most important lessons of my career. The eye is a muscle, it learns by seeing. And in those 6 months, I learned more than I did in 4 years of university. Because the whole concept of the decisive moment by Cartier-Bresson is when your heart, the mind, the eye, and the lens align. They become one. And this is one of the strongest forces in my life to this day. I strive to capture moments when everything falls into place, when an image makes you stop and feel. And we need it especially now. And I'm adding here some shots of Fan Ho, who's one of my favorite photographers. Imagine if we do architectural photography like this, so people can really feel it and experience it. And in Paris, I also learned restraint. We were given only 3 24-frame rolls of film per month. Can you imagine 72 frames? This is it, before some of the top photographers in the world reviewed them. And think about it nowadays in the digital era, where students learn pressing the shutter thousands and thousands of times a day. In Paris, every click of the shutter mattered. And that discipline shaped the way I still photograph today. If I don't feel it, I just don't take it. And during the same time, I visited Villa La Roche by Le Corbusier. And so I watched people go through the space, and I thought, how incredible would it be to combine architecture and photojournalism? Because at that point, nobody was photographing with people in the shots. Most buildings were photographed empty. So I wanted to merge those two styles. And this image for me, this is done in the 60s. So it represents that exact combination. It is an image by René Bory, a Magnum photographer taken in Sao Paulo in Brazil in the 1960s. This is an architectural photograph in many ways, but what makes it powerful are the men on the roof, the sense of story, of mystery, and similarly this image. I talk about it always because this is the Empire State Building, Elliott Erwitt. But do you know what? I think this image surprises us because we have seen thousands of photos of the Empire State Building. But to this day, this image always stays in my mind as the best image of this building. It's the most memorable shot. And why is that? Because the photographer has created something very important. And it is the sensation of, I want to be there. I want to be her. I want to view the building from that perspective. Because to make a justice to a building, we need to kind of let go of the control, explore every angle, every condition. And I have an artist that I really love, Julia Cameron, and her quote kind of stays in my mind quite a lot. I might be wrong with some of it. The creative process is a process of surrender, not control. Mystery is the heart of creativity, that and a surprise. So imagine if we surprise the world, we've achieved our goal. And why diversity matters now more than ever is because we're literally living in a sea of images. We see thousands of images every day. So 5.3 billion photos are taken daily, 61,000 a second, and 14 billion shared on social media every day. So how does your project stand out? How do we not get desensitized? When do we stop scrolling the images? You know, we all do it. Element of surprise, managing to catch that unique moment and element, telling the story. And the photographers have to have full understanding of the business goals of the architect we're working with. What is your target market? What is your desired publication? What is your desired exposure? It is no longer a photograph. It is a strategy. And I think a lot of people still don't understand this, but we need to keep pushing for this. Because that uniqueness, everybody thinks that it comes from artificial intelligence and perception. Super perfection, but it's not. Because recently, if you think about it, and I'm sure you have this in your circles as well, people want to photograph on film. They want to listen vinyl. They want to bring back the craftsmanship. And it's all part of the same instinct of showing somehow that we can live slower, and we need to live slower. And I wanted to share a few examples of colleagues of mine because I really feel passion in their work, and I always think that we should start with our peers. We should never start with ourselves. This is Fernando Guerra, and this image is incredibly impactful for me. Because do you feel the moment? You feel the wind, you feel the sun, you feel the morning light, the sensation of being there. Architecture is presented through the angle of the viewer. It's very impactful for me personally. And the next one, this is Captain and Crow. This building got photographed immensely. And a year later, they went in and photographed in fog. And those images came out, and this building was relevant again. It felt new. So I always feel that element of surprise is important. And the last one is Nick Leno. He's a fellow Canadian. The unexpected. We always show buildings from the glory side. It always has to be the glory. It has to be the best angles. But you know, talking to some of the journalists in the publication, they want to see a little bit more of the hidden angles, the alley. And in this case, like, I mean, he went on the train tracks to actually get that unique angle, because that juxtaposition again creates diversity in the way we're photographing. And this is my work, like I showed my colleagues, but I wanted to show you two images. One of the images is my the oldest architectural record cover, and the next one is my most recent, which is this year. So this image is of a community pool and Olympic training facility in Canada by HCMA. So I planned for a very early morning photo shoot. And luckily, the Junior Olympics team was doing training that day. So of course I went and I asked, and they gave me 2 jumps. Talk about pressure. But this image became my first viral image. And eventually, of course, my dream, and every photographer's dream, architectural record cover. And the editor sent me an email afterwards and said, Emma, we all love it. Everybody loves it. But there was one complaint by a reader that it's too photoshopped. The clouds, he said, it are too low. And the truth is, what they were seeing is a shadow of a tree in front of the building that is right on the translucent panels. And that reaction reminded me that when an image makes people wonder, it has incredible power, as they want to see more. And this is what we want. And this is my latest architectural record cover, which talks about another diversity, breaking the traditional rules of architectural photography. When I was in university, I was taught never to put people in the center of an image, as it will stop somehow the perspective. Never to photograph into the sun, because the sun has to be always behind your back. And always avoid the lens flare. And I have to tell you, I have ignored all of that, always. I have tried to make my own rules, and I think the people that are successful try to make their own rules. And this image was done at Portland Airport for ZGF Architects. It was taken midday because they wanted me to emphasize the light coming through the mass timber ceiling. And the whole idea was to showcase that sensation of walking in the park between the trees. We use, I'm going to jump here, we use 70mm tilt chip lenses. I'm sure everybody has seen them, everybody who works with professional photographers. And the whole idea is that the lens tilts up and shifts side to side instead of us doing this with the camera. To keep the vertical straight, very important thing for architects. But those are spherical lenses, and the flare is incredible. And here, this is what you're seeing. I was in the perfect composition, the perfect location. I couldn't back up more, but the flare was unavoidable in that moment. So instead of me thinking, okay, I'm going to move away, which is what we're taught to do, I shaded half of the lens, and the rest of the flare created those rays of light. So nothing here is artificial. This is just the moment. And to be honest, that moment changed how I approach light, both natural and artificial. And it pushed me to experiment more, to diversify the way I light, because very often we have to create light where it doesn't exist. This is a good example. This is one image, by the way. It's not an image cut in half. They're not 2 images. A lot of the architects are trying to bring in nature into the homes. So for us to photograph the courtyards is a huge challenge. So many reflections. In this specific image, I use strobes lighting from the upper floors to actually light the bamboo and to create those shadows in the hallway around the courtyard. I also wanted to tell a story because we always have to tell some sort of a story when we're photographing. And I used the kids, and I wanted to use one to showcase how the built environment can be enjoyed and how the nature could be enjoyed with the little girl going through. And this is a similar image, but I'm going to go very technical here for you. We used the strobe from above, but we made sure that the courtyard, which is in the shape of a box, is brighter inside than the environment reflected in the glass on the outside. Because I was standing in a white kitchen. Can you even imagine that? Can you imagine the reflections that are happening around? So this is a bit more technical, but it shows you can create different images by trying to imagine what the image could be to tell the story. And those experiments remind me that diversity can be technical too, and it's all about your own curiosity and problem solving. Because if we stay in our comfort zone, nothing really actually ever happens. And I wanted to talk about the architect's vision and how we need to reflect it. Because another form of diversity comes from adapting your visual language to somehow reflect the architect's style. Because we often talk about a photographer's signature look. I don't agree with that. Because collaborations are so powerful, and understanding the vision of the architect you're working with is really a key because it manages to diversify the way you look at the world too. For example, this is Shibara and Desert Rock. I worked with Studio Paulo Ferrari, Oppenheim Architecture and Kila in Saudi Arabia. They're incredible resorts, and I have photographed resorts for years. And when photographing hospitality, we often do very wide angle shots. And Paulo especially wanted me to do intimacy, to express luxury through details. And I was very skeptical because when publication chose the images, they chose the close-ups, not the wide shots. And this is a good example. I don't know who the photographer is for this one, unfortunately, but this is a bar with a very wide angle lens. And this is the moment where, for me, I couldn't see the bar, I couldn't see the architectural details. And this is the same bar. I'm going to go back and forth so you can see it. Those were the covers of Hospitality Designs and most of the other publications. And it's showing the details make people want to see more. And of course, big reaction were moonshots because you don't expect that specifically in the desert. But I thought, why not? Like after a 17-hour day, why not just go around and photograph moonscapes, really? But it's worth it because people reacted really, really well. And this is very different, completely different example, but Lecky Studio in Vancouver wants me to photograph in rain. And I said, no, why am I supposed to photograph in rain? It's hard. Everybody's aiming for beautiful sun. But I have to tell you that those more darker emotional images resonate deeply with every angle. And even the Mexican architects are doing this a lot more often at the moment. They're photographing really moody. And even the sunny days are now muted with filters. And talking about different, this is Arizona. It's HK Associates. They invited me to photograph after a hurricane, or kind of in the middle between the hurricane. Dark skies, really, really impactful, stronger images because in the desert, we always photograph in the sun. So we could diversify by using unexpected lighting conditions. Always do something different when the location is expected to be more blue skies and beautiful and clear. And then when you do storm images, they got published again everywhere. And since then, I photographed storm. I want to show you those too because they're quite interesting. I photographed storms and fog and everything I possibly can. This is St. Regis Canal in Mexico for Edmonds Architecture. And I photographed a 4-hour lightning storm. The resort hated the images because, of course, like, why would you do this? But the architect loved them, of course. It was total chaos, especially for this one. But look at the lighting on the mangrove. And think about it. I am with a metal tripod running around in a mangrove full of crocodiles, and with a jaguar running around a few hours before that. So it was it was a little bit dangerous, but I kind of really enjoyed it. And the last one I wanted to show you from that series is Kyangukuma. Uh, I photographed this building in every possible way, but we had that beautiful foggy morning when the shape showed the best, and I jumped out of my car going to another shoot to be able to take the shot. And he loves this shot the most out of all of them, I have to say. And I wanted to bring it in full circle, where I began with somehow the union of architecture and photojournalism. Because for me, and I'm noticing all the viewers on social media and everyone who's looked at my images, people love powerful images that show how people inhabit a space. Capturing that human element, the decisive moment within architecture, creates those really resonant images. And this is the Dawando Bourse de Commerce in Paris. And I've gone so many times to photograph it in the different exhibitions. The light changes constantly, patterns shift every time. But what I love the most is that I found a new story between the architecture and the people. And especially, I love the image on the right, the couple looking at each other and everybody else reflecting, that, like taking photos or looking at themselves. Um, and from this natural approach, I started with Portland. If you think that those are candid images of people walking around, we have 14 models in a not yet open terminal. So we have to actually make sure everybody's in the right position. And this is especially strong because I'm standing on a cherry picker while there is a plane landing behind me with somebody in my ear on a phone, just telling them exactly where to position the people. So many of those images could be natural, but if you can create stage images that look like this is kind of one of the biggest strengths of photographers as well, to actually diversify by understanding their location. And my closing thoughts are about recent studies showcasing that people want calmness. They want images that transport them. And diversity in photography isn't just about representation of style, it's about emotion. How a project is photographed shapes how it's perceived and how it will live in the world. Because most architecture is documented in such a clean, symmetrical way, but the most memorable images are often the ones that feel alive. Uh, it's the unpolished human moments, like this one, like the girl running through the shears, when an image reveals not just the form but the soul of a building. And this is the moment when people stop, share, and remember. But to do so, we have to immerse ourselves in diversity. Thank you so much. I'll stop to share. Hopefully, this was useful for everybody.
This was really, really nice. Thank you so much, Emma. Really nice. I wish it could have
Of
gone
course.
on longer and you could have shown even more. But
Yeah. Thank you.
this is really nice. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you having me.
Guys, one round of applause, please.
Thank you so much.